Well, hello everyone. The Inside Scoop is on. I think we've missed a week, kind of. However, it cannot stop. We're going. And we have Aylin today here on the podcast. Hi there.
Hello, how are you guys doing?
And Oscar is either running late or, well, we'll see if he joins. Um, so we're kind of continuing our honors projects discussion. So, Aylin, for your information, I think we had Melvin, we had Yassine, we had Dimitru uh, to talk about their honors projects and what they were developing, how they were feeling, etc.
hmm
So, just to brief the people, what was your project? What did you choose to do?
my project was basically human-computer interaction with mobile phones, and then more specifically, like with the increase in screen sizes and screen resolutions with the current phones. Obviously, with a single hand, because we all know that we all do something while we're scrolling or while we're interacting with our phones. That could be like anything from carrying your bags from shopping or just having a smoke outside. That's just an example. you know so like the case of this was basically try to study what are the best option for possible future UX designs. And personally, I've sought out myself with few other applications actually. Lately, Amazon with their latest release, what they did is they basically minimized the interaction with the top of the screen, and then they placed all their buttons at the bottom. That's due to the fact that it's easier to handle with a single hand, and it's still in the natural area of the thumb, so you can easily interact between different navigate through the application, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I've noticed. Wasn't it the difference between like Android and iPhone? iOS used to have most of their navigation buttons on the bottom. Now I think Android
Yeah,
is also catching on. I even
yeah.
saw one application in particular, Tinder, actually have.
hmm
Have you noticed it? They've put the
At the
main
bottom, yeah.
navigation bar, yeah, at the bottom. Is
Yeah.
it because of that, like big
Uh,
screens and
um,
stuff?
yeah, it's probably because of that, because it's easier for people to interact with, and then that was shown with the data that I've discovered. Well, I've gathered pretty much.
Hmm.
Like people, they've all performed better when the targets were at the bottom compared to the top.
Yep.
Because obviously, the larger it gets, it takes a larger time for your thumb to reach that target. Basically, that's also a case. That's why I did like reaction times in my case, for example.
Hmm. So what did you do? Did you make like a application or a solution for?
My application was basically a web app, which was well, the front end tech stack basically was React.js in general. Well, specifically React.js, and then backend was Node.js with the Express library. And then I put my database in a Docker file, well, Docker container rather, which was PostgreSQL. However, later on, I've discovered that I could have just used any sort of like JSON database. That could have been like MongoDB, because it was easier for me to take all the information, all the raw data, and then just check it as a JSON object to the database and then store it as it is.
Hmm.
And then that later on was processed, you got, I had to basically trim it down a bit, make it more presentable, take the information that I need, and then the rest was, still it could be used for something else, but like not in my case. And then that was basically my whole project itself. And it was all of that was basically hosted on a cloud server, which I made a mistake because at first when I created my cloud server, I didn't give it enough space. So I only gave it 8 GB, and that was like filled like with node modules like straight away, like a big mistake. And then later on, I had to basically reset the whole thing, create a new cloud server, and then obviously install the dependencies, install all the stuff that I need, and just do like git pull, and then pull it from the pull it from the version control website, and then just
Hmm.
run it with screens.
Right. So from what I understand, you were hosting like a website and
Yeah,
then
web app. Yeah,
web app, right? And then
yeah,
people were testing it.
yeah. They can just basically. Well, I'm pretty sure it's still up, but like they can just type in the IP. I didn't have enough time to get an actual domain, but like they could just type in the IP and it'll load it. It will load the web app, and then based on the screen size, because it takes at first as soon as you load it, there's like a script that takes the screen size and based on that screen size draws the bubbles on the screen. So the larger your screen it gets, the bubbles will get bigger respectively.
Right. And so how did you, I guess, conceptualize this experiment? Do you have any reasoning why this over some like something else? I don't know.
I mean, I've seen something similar at first when I was, well, still in the research period. Um, I've seen something online, but in their case, it was like in a circle, so all the bubbles appear in a circle, and then like from time to time, you can obviously like it changed randomly. Like at some point it'll be like larger. That's where I got the bubbles, obviously. And then the square thing, yeah, I saw a similar experiment that was done like I believe 2012, I want to say. It was like a similar case where they released a game in the App Store, like in the Google Play App Store, and then like it was just a basic game, but they were gathering like user interaction, like which are the easier spots to reach, and then that's where I saw like the grid like thing, and it just popped from there. I was like, oh, I'm gonna do it like this.
Right. What phone do you use yourself? Does it have a big
Uh,
screen?
it's actually I want to say 5.9 inches. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, like in 2007, like the average screen size was like 4.3 inches, like 4 point something like that.
Yeah,
I
I
believe, yeah,
remember. They were like
yeah,
small.
yeah. And then ever since, like the screen sizes like have been growing, like quite a bit. Like, I mean, I've seen like phones to be like 6.5. Like you've seen like Samsung was it Note? They're
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah, they're
massive, like
huge.
they're yeah. And imagine try to use that with a single hand. That's like not ideal because that's also like the bigger you go, it's like restricting your natural thumb area.
Mm-hmm.
Or you'll need two hands to use it. But then again, like you can't multitask. You have to like basically with two hands interacting with it. And yeah, I gave an example even on my. I mean that could be encountered with like gesture-based interactions where you can just slide. You must have seen it. Like some applications have, like for example, Facebook. Even if they have like a bunch of navigation buttons at the top, you can still like slide left to the right and or
Mm-hmm.
same like right to the left, and it'll still change it for you. But I've discovered like a really popular application called Auto Trader.
Mm-hmm.
um you
What's
must have
that?
heard about it. It's basically an application where
Oh,
people
like
can
for
sell their
cars.
second-hand car. Yeah, yeah, they can
Right,
sell their
right, right.
second-hand cars, motorbikes or some stuff like that in general. So what I've discovered on that is like they weren't encountering that. So like they had like bunch of like navigations button at the top, but you couldn't just like slide left to the right or right to the left, so you can swap in between categories, for example, or like search options. So that was like kind of like the things that I've discovered. But the whole UX thing is like I even came up with a possible and experimental design for like Microsoft Teams, like for the mobile application, where I only left like a couple of buttons at the top and the rest was just basically integrated at the bottom, so people will be easily you know interacting with it with a single hand. Because now it's somewhat okay, I want to say, but like they still need to improve upon that. And then like as you must have seen yourself, as like most applications are moving towards that direction lately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My experience is I got a. When did I buy my phone recently? Wasn't recently. Last year maybe. I opted in for a smaller screen, even though I always used to say, "Oh, the bigger the screen, the better, because you can see more. You can." But I just got a pretty small screen. Like we were comparing it with, I think, your and Dimitri's phones, and uh, the difference is massive. But I've gotten so
Well,
used to it. It's like it's so small and easy on the hand. Like it's light. Uh, it does all the functions it needs because it has all the compute power. But the screen is just a bit smaller, and
I mean,
you know,
one research, I can't remember what it was, but there was like a research paper. So what they did is like the ideal was like 4.3 inches, because the more you go up, like yeah, sure, your enjoyment rates will be higher because you'll have like a bigger screen. But the thing is like you're basically sacrificing portability, as I said, you know.
mm,
And then things like what they discovered, like mainly people who are attracted to larger screens are tend to use it like for media purposes, like to watch something on YouTube or like just to, for news purposes as well. Even gaming that was included as well. but it's still like it's too big. Like it's big. Like when I'm holding my old phone, which is like an Honor 9, that is small. Like it's small, but it's comfortable, as you said. It's like small,
Mm,
comfortable. But then again, the screen is small.
right.
So it's like it's kind of like a personal choice because you said like you were like, oh, the bigger the better. But then once you had this, was it Google Pixel 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like sure it's smaller, but like it's portable. It's easy to carry around. You don't have to worry that it's gonna fall off your pocket
Oh
like
yeah,
Demetrius
yeah, yeah, yeah.
happened to Dimitri a few times. Even in my case, happened to me like a couple of times when I was working doing delivery. I didn't zip up my pocket and my phone just fell off. Well, luckily I had a screen
Right.
protector, so it's fine. But yeah, that
Um.
was basically the project that I had, and it was like overall to kind of see like whether like the resolution affects you at all. And then I mean also I could have done it. I mean I could have basically done it better, but then again due to COVID and everything else, I couldn't actually conduct like what do you call it, controlled lab experiment,
Like
like
user
where I would
studies
see,
normally.
yeah, like where I would see like the testers are actually following the rules, like following the steps that I gave them.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like people want to read. Like I've included everything that all the needed information was enclosed in the consent form, participation sheet, and also like a kind of like a small user manual, like how they have to do. And I still had people like being confused like how they should do it. Like I had
Mm-hmm.
people mention like I'm not going to disclose names or anything, but like
Yeah,
they
yeah.
were like, oh, I use it with two hands, which
Mm,
technically discredits my whole research.
yeah.
And then I also, well, I had to get rid of like I had to trim the data, as I said. I had to get rid of some of the because some people didn't put their model number right, and then they
Mm,
put their names, or like some people even just left it like space, like just blank, which shouldn't happen, but it happened for some reason. And then like from there on I cannot go like, yeah, sure, I have some data, but that's not helpful to me at all, because I had to go myself and later on do research of like for each specific model, try to find the screen sizes, research screen size, resolution, and all that stuff.
pretty much more work on this side.
Yeah, and then
So,
yeah, I'm pretty sure there was like 6 or 7 entries that was like discredited because I had like over 34 entries,
mm,
and then yeah, about 6 or 7 were discredited due to like various reasons.
yeah. Meanwhile, I think Oscar has joined us, and to
Hello.
probably, hey Oscar, to probably come back to that topic about ease of use with one hand and small screen sizes when everything is on the bottom. Do you want to share your experiences, Oscar?
I just want to say that joining 3 minutes late, out of context, this conversation sounds is very entertaining.
Mm.
So you're saying, Aylin, after all, size does matter.
Um, Depends. Again, depends. I know what you mean, but like it's personal choice, I guess. Like, sure, I like my
Yeah.
phone big, but then again, you also need to, as I said, like there's too many variables. You also need to, you also need to think about like how big the person hands are. Like, for example,
Mm,
mine are massive. Like, sure, my phone might be like almost 6 inches, but I can still hold it with one hand and interact with it with one hand.
yeah.
Dude, you're like an ape. Huge.
Yeah, and then like for example, where some females will have like really small hands, and like even like for this, it's a lot of things to like to consider.
Yeah. So,
Thanks,
Oscar, you
Aylin.
didn't share your experiences about
Yeah.
the little
Um,
phony experience you're going on. What's that?
oh,
Yeah,
Phone
phone
thing.
the
experience.
phony experience, exactly. A phony phone. Uh, I don't know. I just got a keypad. It's small. I don't know,
Mm,
3 by 2 inches. Is
okay.
that maybe?
I mean, so
And so
which one
I
do you
can
prefer
reach
then? Do you
everything.
like a touchscreen or like more like physical with buttons?
I think I like a touchscreen more, or if the keypad actually had the letters, not that I had to press one button 3 times to get the letter I want. It's that kind of fun.
I mean,
Like a
But it's
BlackBerry.
yeah,
yeah.
BlackBerry. Yeah, BlackBerry has similar thing, like a whole keyboard basically.
hmm But it does the job. It's mostly for just taking calls. So yeah.
Mm, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's it's good to have a bit of like detox from the social media and everything else.
hmm It's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, mm. I mean, I still need to check my results for what I got for my honors. I don't know if you got. Have you guys checked it?
Yeah, well, Oscar has yet to
Yeah, I
finish his
haven't.
year, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
I've checked it. I think, yeah,
What did you get?
I think it's a
If
B3
if
or something. I was far
oh
from actually
nice.
getting a first. No,
Dude, if you got B3, then probably I got something C for mine.
I don't think so, man.
I
These
mean,
goddamn projects, dude.
no, but it was I don't know, it was quite fun project because I picked it because it was like web development, and then I mean my advisor was like, "Oh, you're overcomplicating yourself," because he was like, "Oh, you didn't even need to use, for example, React.js. You could have just used simple JavaScript and it would have done the job, right?" But then again, I
Mm,
was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna challenge myself. I want to get into this shit, get into this sector like web development and
mm-hmm.
whatnot. So might as well like
Want to learn it?
do a project that will be useful for me, right? Like something that I can put on my CV, or like even a job interview. I can be like, yeah, I did this in web app, well, this web app basically, and it was like fully hosted. Sounds really fancy, for especially for interviews, because I have one tomorrow morning that I need to get myself ready for at 10 o'clock.
Ooh, Pepe's getting a job interview. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Nice.
Is this for a
What is
I
it?
mean,
graduate position?
yeah, graduate position software engineer. I think the company is called Hack a Job, I think. I feel like it's more like an agency rather than anything else, but it's still good. Oh yeah, it's a company that was found like recently. It felt like a startup. It seemed like a startup. It's like 50 to 100 people working basically. Oh,
That sounds
as I
cool
said,
though.
yeah.
If you get hired, I mean, a job is a job, right?
Yeah. It's all about like interaction because based on Fit's law ideas, like it takes you a certain amount to move your thumb from the previous target and go to the next one, and then and also like it does matter the size of the target, and then where it's positioned basically. That's what the Fitz law is. Like I mean technically I should have had implemented Fitz law, but then it was like I did my research. I've included my research, in the background research and everything else. But then I thought like I might do something different. So yeah.
So it's probably something to do with because I remember Microsoft was talking about Windows. There were some people
Mm-hmm.
from like Microsoft developers and designers were talking about like the Windows operating system and how they predict what you want to press rather than what you're actually pressing.
Mm-hmm.
If you like move quickly or something, uh, there's like you misclick by like 5 pixels. They're gonna say like, oh yeah, you clicked it, or
Mm-hmm.
the close button on the on the top right. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you just like swipe your mouse all the way to the right, and then obviously it hits the edges, so it stops, uh, and so that's why it's like I guess it's a good design because it's easier to like
Yeah,
hit it or
even with
something.
you, even with your project, like you remember like how long it took me to realize where you put your buttons? Like there was like a line of buttons at the bottom.
Yeah,
It's
and it was so
basically
it's
UX.
actually so funny, man, because I put my navigation bar on the bottom and then you kept telling me, "Oh no, but websites have their navigation bars on the top and that's why you didn't find it." And then your project is
Because
literally about like putting navigation bars on the bottom. What the hell?
yeah, but for mobile applications, like not for like well, mobile applications in
Yeah.
general. And then, it was nice experimental, but like, as I said, it's natural. They expect you to look like,
Mhm.
you got to expect your user to look like, up and right. For example, that's what I was looking for, like, the options up and then left, where you
Mhm.
click and just like, there's like a drop down menu for options.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, I kept looking and looking to the left and I couldn't see anything. And later on, I realized it's just kind of like, it's at the bottom, which was kind of nice experimental design. Like, how did you come up with that?
I have no idea. I just drew it out. Maybe I was actually thinking mobile first. Isn't that what like web is moving towards these days? When you design mobile
Oh, yeah,
first
yeah.
and then scale the application up for like bigger screen sizes.
Yeah, it is. Like, the mobile usage has been like growing like a lot, a lot. Even like more than laptops and like normal computers at this point, because like it's technically a computer, you can do anything on
Mm.
it. Like you can send emails, you can, organize people, manage people. So yeah, it's been going like towards that way. And then you still get like, obviously like websites who don't have like a mobile version, but I guess that's their own issue to deal with.
Mm. Yeah, it's all the accessibility stuff. Like I remember we were taught. how some websites didn't have like screen readers and stuff, and that's a very big sin because if someone comes into the website with a disability and they can't navigate it, then it's like, oh, what the hell, Web's
Oh yeah,
supposed to be for
yeah, yeah.
everyone.
I
So,
mean, was that WCAG that we did second year or third year, with all the
mhm,
accessibility stuff?
yes,
I mean,
potentially.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, there was like I'm pretty sure there was like an extension, like a really useful extension that basically analyzes your website.
Mm,
Like, I mean, which they could have used, analyzes and then tells you like which criteria you pass and which you don't. Because that's how you get like, was it triple A website and like, double A and then like a single A based on like, what kind of accessibility you have.
yeah, something like that. Because I think the example used was that Tesco had a pretty crappy website and you couldn't even navigate it
Mm.
properly, and they were sued. And then the person suing Tesco won the lawsuit because they don't provide the same equal rights or opportunities for the person to actually use the website.
Mm.
And now it's an accepted convention that people use the website, and everyone uses it. So that's the thing, you have to like adapt for it.
I
Um,
mean, yeah, basically, yeah. Because, we are moving more towards like, I said, like, mobile designs and like, because it's more accessible, I guess, to everyone. It's portable
mm,
compared to laptop, even more portable than laptop or tablet. Sure, I mean, tablets like what? Tablets are still like 7 inch at least,
mhm.
like the smallest you get.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, it was
and a
pretty.
phone is more affordable and stuff, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, like my phone is practically 200 and something brand new. So
Yeah,
like,
and you couldn't say that about a laptop unless the laptop's like totally like junk.
yeah, I mean, you're right because I bought at some point one of those notepads they get like Acer, I believe.
Hmm.
Like for 250, oh my god, that thing was so slow after a year. Unbelievable. Like I could barely navigate through it. Yeah, it takes ages to load. So yeah, no,
Hmm.
you're right.
So so what we got out of it today is that you have made a project where you've researched uh, differences in screen sizes and how that affects people.
Yeah, and then well, how that affects and like how that affects your interactions, like which are the best spots to basically like to place buttons, like because my main premise of my research was like why we shouldn't put the buttons like or limit putting like any sort of buttons at the top. That was the main premise basically, and then,
Hmm.
like my research proved it because like as I said, people performed better when the targets were placed at the bottom, like no
Hmm.
matter like the size or the screen resolution, even like they still perform better compared to the top.
Yeah, I remember iPhones and now again some Android applications have this convention where the back button is on the top left of like an application or a settings menu
Mm.
or anything. If you're in it, you want to go back out, uh, the back button is on the top left. And I always wondered, like, that
I
is
mean, yeah,
asking you
eBay
to
has.
go and use your other hand for it.
Yeah, I mean, eBay still has the same. I mean, as I said, Amazon used to be the same, but now they don't have it on the top left because it was before on the top left where you have to, basically go up and like will be a drop down menu with your orders and like, your wish list and so on and so forth. But like if you check it yourself, you'll see like, they just pretty much did like a simple menu with 4 navigation options, and that thing that they were putting up top now it's like basically close as far
Hmm.
right and the bottom basically it's like really close to your like thumb area. Well, depends if you're like
Yeah,
right-handed,
yeah,
but then again I'm sure it shouldn't be too it can't be too bad, like you can mirror like the results from such experiments.
yeah. So the
So yeah,
we're
I
not
mean, yeah,
supposed
that's
to
gonna
put
be
something up top. That's the new.
N- no, I mean, you gotta encounter like because like, again we're busy, like not always we have the second hand free.
Hmm.
And I feel like like most applications do follow the same trend, and like in 10 years, like there won't be any applications like put in like navigations button, well, any sort of buttons again at the top, but like that'll be like the future of UX design for phones.
Hmm. I feel like gestures is a pretty nice thing. I wonder how, accessibility is in a question in here, obviously, but I feel like I've transitioned to gestures in my, what was it? The Samsung Note 9, and they actually did very good job with creating this One UI. Don't know if you've heard of it, but sometime a couple of years ago, they have come out with a fresh new look, a fresh new ROM kind of for
Mm-hmm.
Samsungs. They called it the One UI, and it's one of its selling features is that it's supposed to be able to be usable with one hand. For example, you know how you open the Messages app, and
Mm-hmm.
then all the messages start from the top, right? But
Yeah.
this literally has like a huge half a screen big blank space with text in the middle that says messages. So like this is your app, and then you can your first message is literally like at the half of the screen, so you can click easily. Um, but you obviously can scroll up, and that thing is going to hide itself, and it's going to become like a
Mm.
normal app. But then it's designed so that if you just came in and you want to reach the top message, you don't need to reach all the way to the top edge because again, Note phones are big, and I think Samsung has realized that they're gonna make phones big because they kept making them, and I think to this day they're still huge.
I mean, yeah, iPhone took a while to catch up with the whole trend because I remember still in what was it 2018? Um, they still had like iPhone 8, which was like relatively small compared to the other competitors. As I said, like Samsung Note line, Note flagship, and there was like which one was it? There was one more that was like quite massive. I can't remember, but yeah, no, it took them a while to catch up, especially Apple.
But it's either
Like,
catch up or they actually have some sort of secret research, or they're also providing people choice. To just,
I
if
mean,
you want a smaller phone, go for a smaller phone. They even have the SE version, which is like tiny.
oh yeah, no, I've seen that. That was like a really small one, like one of those
Hmm.
Samsung Galaxy Mini or whatever. That's like tiny.
Yeah, yeah, like small as that, and then it's
Yeah.
it's an iPhone. What was it? I think it started with the iPhone 6, and then they just came out with the SE, which has the exact same specs, but it's just like tiny. So for people
Oh
who
yeah.
really just want a small phone, get the
I
same,
mean, I guess that. I mean, I guess that's how they encounter like different hand sizes again. Like the bigger, sure you can go for a bigger screen.
Yeah,
The smaller the hand, you can like obviously because it feels more comfortable and natural to use a smaller phone with a small hand,
yeah.
which was a quite smart strategy actually.
Yeah, as long as you
Yeah,
provide
now that
consumers the choice,
yeah.
you can have big phones, but then you need to give them a small phone because otherwise you're gonna stay in the middle and try making a phone for everyone. But it's pretty difficult. I mean, yeah, true. That's why they have like XL Max, and other nonsense. Those like
Oh yeah, was it the Pro as well?
yeah,
They
like the
had Pro.
the different sizes. So it's up to everyone. Now I think with my newfound I don't know, comfortability with the smaller phone, I'd probably go for the smaller one actually.
Mm.
Well, yeah.
No, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't mind the big one, but like again, just holding my small phone feels kind of better because I can literally reach every point of it with a
Mm-hmm.
single hand.
More comfortable.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. I think that's our half an hour for today. It was a
yeah.
pleasant conversation. Thanks for sharing insights about your project. And
No worries, it.
it's interesting how we spotted Tinder having their
No,
because it
I've
happened recently, didn't it?
yeah. I mean, I've spotted this whole thing like when I was. I mean, it was a kind of funny story because I was literally like, I had the meeting with my advisor, right? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, so what should I do my research based on? And he was like, oh, you gotta figure that yourself out. And then I went through like 10, 15 research papers. I couldn't find anything. I'm sorry. And then I was literally just sitting outside smoking a cigarette and having like a coffee. And I was scrolling on Instagram, right? And I looked at Instagram and I saw they had like, like the profile and all the stuff at the bottom. Then I switched to Facebook and I was like, wait a second, there is something here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, I went and I've checked out a bunch of like, other like other phone applications which kind of led to my research because it was like a funny, as I said, like I was literally lost at the time and I just came up
Mm-hmm.
with this idea randomly, just out of the blue. Because I was like looking, I was like, oh, I need to find something. I was trying to analyze UI, UXs, like UIs, user designs for like different applications, and then that's how I found it. And I was like, okay, this is a pretty cool, interesting find, right? I can easily base my research on this, my honest work.
Yeah.
And then that's how I came up with it. And like it was more specific to do the academic research as well, because like I had it wasn't just a broad broad topic to go through like hundreds of academic research papers, but like only like narrow. And then from there you can expand, like whichever way you go. You can obviously expand. You can also expand, like to see how, like, because I've seen, I mean, one of them was like basically the research paper premise was like, oh, how do we interact when we are walking, for example, or like when we are sitting, when we are lying down, like different activities. And then like but I could have done mine like to be more specific. To, but then again, I can't keep like track of it accurately, given it's
Hmm.
COVID and we cannot meet inside.
Yeah, you can't observe and like maybe even
Yeah.
film people's hand using the phone, etc.
Yeah, because one of them actually filmed it with like a really like accurately with a camera, like to kind of like analyze the angle that you touch each point.
Wow.
Yeah, like also that makes a difference, like the angle as well. So it's like it's quite interesting to get into. Like if you enjoy that kind of stuff, it's quite interesting. But yeah, no, like my Honor 9 has like a similar thing where like you can resize the menu like of the whole Android operating system with a gesture, so it like becomes smaller. So it
Like a
basically pulls to
one-handed
the
mode.
yeah, basically one-handed mode. So that
Hmm.
was like their way of like kind of like combating the issue of like interaction with applications, especially like as I said, just kind of like make it easier, more natural to the user. Because no one really likes to like it has to be seamless, right? If one application is frustrating, you're not going to use it the second time, right?
Yeah, if it's
It's like,
getting in
oh
the way, like why would you even use
yeah,
it then?
yeah. So like it's the whole case, like to make it more seamless interaction, like less frustrating. Because again, like if you I mean, your point with the Microsoft, right? Was it Microsoft? Yeah, yeah. How it's like it's still active even if you're like 5 pixels off, right? It's still active. You can
Yeah, they're
still close
almost
the
trying to
window.
predict it and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's like a kind of like a combat, because even it might be like 5 pixels, but you'll be still clicking, and for you it might be visible that you're on the X, but it's still five
Hmm.
pixels off, and you'll be frustrated. You'll be like, oh, why is not closing? Why is not closing?
Yeah. So they need to
So
think
yeah,
about it to make it
yeah,
more
yeah,
uh, usable and
yeah. It's all usability. Yeah, it's all usability, pretty much. But yeah, do you have any questions?
yeah. I mean that's pretty much me actually. Unless Oscar has anything to chip in, but I feel like I've
No, I'm
asked
good. I'm good.
everything. So let's wrap up.
Yeah,
And thanks, Aylin, for
no
joining.
worries.
Thank you, Oscar. And
Thank you all. It was pleasure. It was fun. I'm trying to get the word out.
we shall meet on a podcast some other day to talk about something different. This one was more of a themed for the honors project of yours and the
Yeah.
usability and small screens. We might even call it "Does Size Matter" with Aylin.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, yeah, you could do that actually. Yeah. I mean, I called it pop the bubbles because, it's the bubble. Well, it's bubbles, but they're circles, but it's supposed to be bubbles. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
Dimitri, yeah, a friend of mine, Dimitri. Well, a friend of mine, he was like, oh, say the name. And I'm like, dude, the name is fine. Like I was trying to be creative, right?
I think it's perfect.
Uh,
All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you guys, and
You can.
for everyone else who listened, thank you, and catch you next time.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it
see you.
was nice. See ya.